Good day and Happy New Year, everybody. Welcome to another edition of 20 Minutes on Ice, powered by the Garage Door Sports Network. I'm your host, Ryan, and as always, in the co-host position is Nick. We've got a lot of great, exciting content coming up for you, so let's get right to our opening face-off. Today on 20 Minutes, we are going to be previewing the new West Division exclusively for the 2021 NHL season. We're going to be looking at teams, maybe, we'll see. Teams that will succeed, teams that will fail, teams that will surprise us. We, of course, will give you our division predictions, and we will close out the show with the randomizer. But first, your referee for tonight's contest, Nick McVicker. Nick, how's it going?
Pretty good, buddy. How about you?
I'm doing well. How did Christmas treat you?
Christmas treated me well, man. I got a new driver.
Oh, very good.
Which I was not expecting. So that'll help. Much lower loft than the one that I've been using. So no more sky high balls.
Name brand, like a big.
Oh yeah, TaylorMade Sim.
Oh, okay, very cool, very cool.
Brand new, top of the line.
Excellent. So that
again was not expecting it at all.
That puts to shame my new irons that I got. I'm actually using.
No, irons are more expensive.
I'm actually using adult size irons now. So
finally, yes.
As you pointed
Ladies
out,
and gentlemen, everyone has to clap for that. He's been using child irons forever.
Teenager irons, and I didn't even realize it. And then during our summer tournament, you pointed out that I was topping the ball quite a few times. Took a look at my clubs,
quite a few.
I was using teenager size clubs, so I've gotten I guess it would add at about 2 inches. I think I saw. I would estimate 2-3 inches
at least
to the length of the club. So I'm using big boy clubs now, and you got the driver, so we're all set. Now we just wait for warmer weather.
Yeah. Well, and the putter that I bought at the end of the season too, so that I got to break that bad boy out.
Not a Scooty Cameron?
No, I got the Spider.
Oh, the Spider, right. I remember you talking about
Spider X.
Yep. This isn't the golf podcast, so people are like, I don't care.
What is this?
Yeah, they've hit that. They've already hit that skip forward 30 seconds button a few times. But
welcome back.
Yeah, welcome. This is the hockey portion of the show now. Let's get into a couple news and notes that happened this past week or over the holiday break. Starting with Henrik Lundqvist. Disappointing news there. Washington thought they had their goalie. And I guess Samsonov is going to be thrown in to the starters role now because Henrik Lundqvist not playing this year and will undergo open heart surgery. This is scary, and if it was me, I know millions of dollars aren't on the line, but that would be it for me in my career. I know he won't say
open heart surgery makes me think it probably is it for him in his career. Especially at his age. Like if he was like 21, then maybe.
Does anyone take that risk? Like, I don't think you can even take that risk.
Well, again, if he's 21, he's dumb. So he might try to come back after open heart surgery, right? Like, Let's be honest. Do you know many smart 21-year-olds?
Not at all. No, it's not a good age.
No. But that's what I'm saying. At his age, he knows better. He'll be smart enough to realize, okay, I probably need to hang it up at this point. So I guess we'll see, but
his devotion to the game could be such that he may not be able to give it up. So we'll see where that goes.
Yeah, it's very hard for people to give it up. Yeah. So
speaking on the injury front, a few hours before recording, the news of Jonathan Toews will not be reporting to Chicago Blackhawks training camp. Injured, no timetable for the return. He says he doesn't even have the energy to do what is needed some days, and he's in no condition right now to play professional hockey for the Chicago Blackhawks. This one kind of it wasn't out of left field. Within the last couple of days, we had heard some news that he wouldn't, there might possibly be some issues there. But once he released a statement, it very much seems more serious. He doesn't even know what's going on. More serious than what was originally reported.
Yeah, that's one of those ones where you look at it and you're just like, you can't be going to camp when you're feeling like that. Like you can't be, especially because he doesn't know what it is. It sounds like obviously they've probably tested him for COVID because some of the symptoms sound pretty similar.
But you would think he's probably been for several tests. And
exactly, right? That's what I'm saying. Like I'm going to assume that's not the case. So then you're like, okay, well, what is that serious that it's kind of slowing him down to the point where he just doesn't feel able, like not even partially able to play. Like he's just not able to do stuff during the day. So It's a scary one. I wish him all the best because no one wants to see anyone go through something like that. And hopefully it's nothing too serious and he'll be able to live his life after this pretty straightforward.
Yeah, in a hockey sense, you hope for a full recovery, and just in a life sense, you hope that he gets back to some sort of normal.
Yeah, I don't even think he's worried about hockey right now. Like, I know he is, but at the same time, like, I don't think he's really worried about hockey right now.
Yeah, that's two tough injury situations there for guys that in the early 2000s, mid 2000s, that were top names in the NHL and continued through the 2010s as well.
Not only that, but these guys are like class acts in the league. Like, no one has ever had a bad thing to say about either of these two guys. They are class acts, so we wish them all the best in their recoveries.
Absolutely. TSN and their World Junior Championship coverage. I'll admit, I'm not a World Juniors fan. I just don't get into it. I know. A Canadian who's not a World Juniors fan. I'm sure there's others.
Unacceptable.
It's fine. It's just I don't live and die by it. And it's not, if Canada wins, that's super. If they don't, well, I'll get up the next morning. So, but drawing some attention is the virtual interviews. This is where I guess you're pretty much being filmed in front of the dressing room, in front of a green screen. And then they kind of have this portal graphic come up that puts essentially that person on the set. It makes them appear on the TSN set up in the stands.
Yep.
I saw some clips. At first I thought it was goofy, but then it's, you know what? We're in an unprecedented era, so it's TSN kind of making the best of the situation.
It doesn't look that bad though. Like,
no, it doesn't. It does. The whole portal thing's a little goofy. And
yeah, but I mean, in the grand scheme of things, it could have looked so much worse with what they were trying to do. Absolutely. I did like their first tweet. The first time they used it was "Beam me up, Scotty."
Yeah,
well done.
They turned into the skid. Like they fully acknowledged. Listen, we're trying something different here, and yes, this is a graphic that you know, for unprecedented times.
I'm going to make a joke because somebody that I know tweeted out calling it Star Wars instead of Star Trek reference, and I was just like, oh my goodness, no.
Oh, that would not sit well with me.
Nope. But yeah, so like, I think that they are making the best of a bad situation, and you know what? They're doing a good job of it. It doesn't look out of place. Like, I know it sucks that these people can't be interviewed properly, but they're doing it fairly well. And if they continue to have the same success with every interview and none of them are starting to like fade out halfway through, then I have no problem with it. Just keep doing what you're doing.
And at least the Duthie and Mackenzie or whoever's on the panel, it's not like they're having to stare at, you know, a grip holding a dot on a stick and pretending that the guy's on the set, right? They have the camera so that Duthie's kind of looking in that direction, but no one's going over the top and pretending that guy is actually there. So
no, not at all.
Final bit of news that I wanted to get to: Mike Hoffman signing a pro tryout contract with the St. Louis Blues. It's believed that there is a 1-year deal in place, according to Jeremy Rutherford of The Athletic in St. Louis. It's going to be between $3.5 and $4.5 million. They're just waiting for the beginning of the season to save time and space on long-term injury for Alex Steen, who's retiring once his contract expires, and Tarasenko, who went ahead and re-injured his shoulder during the return to play. I think there's issues with Mike Hoffman. Like, I think there's something up there. The guy,
there has to be.
He's let's admit, he's a 30 goal scorer, right?
He's a legitimate 25 to 30 goal scorer every season.
Yeah, and he couldn't find either he was asking an amount that was out of the park, or the owners don't even want to take a chance on him, or don't even think he's worth his 30 goals aren't worth the high price. I really feel like there's something going on there.
No, for sure. And I think what was being said that is he could have gotten 6.5 in a normal season per year. And I was a little surprised by that. I mean, it is what it is. You get a 30 goal scorer. Yeah, I guess that's the running rate right now for a 30 goal scorer in the NHL. Fine, whatever. But he's not found a home. Like, a lot of the guys that we've said are struggling to find homes have sort of found homes. Like, Duclair was that guy before. Could never find a home. Looks like he's found a home, right? Like, you see people bouncing around, but Hoffman just doesn't seem to be able to find a home. Maybe he's a locker room issue, right? Maybe he's that guy in the locker room that no one can get along with. and that'll cost you contracts right there. It'll cost you contracts.
I think
and that's bad.
Something has cost him some dollars and some time. Like I don't see a reason why. I don't see a reasonable reason why a 30-goal scorer has to wait until 5 days before camp opens and sign a pro tryout and can't even get the full year yet. It sounds like he will get the full year, but again, teams are begging for goals, and this guy, there's something up, and I think it might stem from maybe he's not the problem. I believe there was a girlfriend issue back in Ottawa between him and Erik Karlsson.
But that goes back to the cancer in the room, right? Yeah. Because he's associated with that. It looks bad on him in the locker room, and people don't want to get close to him.
Yeah, absolutely. So he's going to get the year in St. Louis. We'll see what he can do with a 56 game schedule. 15 to 20 goals would be appropriate to kind of keep his pace, I would say. 20, you'd like
20,
to see him hit
20.
Yeah.
I would say 20.
And I mean, anyone who hits 40 this year would be phenomenal.
If someone hits 40, I will be surprised.
I'd like to see Ovechkin do that. But this, just on that note, this pandemic has really slowed down Ovechkin's chances.
Yeah, but he's going to play for 10 years, so it's fine.
He's a machine, so. He's
not human.
Anyways, we got the West Division waiting for us and waiting for our predictions, so let's get right to that now. It's the special, maybe one season only, West Division, consisting of the Anaheim Ducks. Maybe. We'll see what happens. The Anaheim Ducks, the Arizona Coyotes, Colorado Avalanche, Los Angeles Kings, Minnesota Wild, San Jose Sharks, St. Louis Blues, and the Vegas Golden Knights. We will be doing all 4 divisions, and we'll have some bonus episodes for you to get all 4 divisions in before the season starts. We will be looking at the teams we expect to succeed, the teams we expect to fail, and maybe some surprise teams. So let's start on a positive note, Nick. I think you and me are going to be in the same boat here because we both like the Colorado Avalanche. We talked about it in the playoffs. I'm waiting for them to break out and just go and win the cup. I'm waiting for them. Their firepower up front is ridiculous. They have such a solid back end. Cale Makar, just throw him out on the ice, 30 minutes, no problem, every night. He's young. I don't know what else to say about this team that we haven't said already.
I will. I'll add on to it and also subtract from the team. Goaltending is the issue. That's the question mark for this team. You mentioned it up front. Lethal. You have enough firepower on the top 2 lines that you're going to compete with most teams, if not all teams. And then your third and fourth line are a bunch of guys who can still put the puck in the net. So you're getting production from all 12 forwards. The defense 1 through 8, really, because you can count their number 7 guy who's going to stick with them and some of the young guys in the system as the number 8. They're solid all the way up and down. We're watching one of them play in the World Juniors right now in Bowen Byram, and he looks elite at the World Juniors. That's because he played with he trained with Colorado last year and had to mark McKinnon in practice. Going from marking McKinnon to the World Juniors, easy. Yeah. But the goaltending will be the question, and it was they actually had one of the best goals against marks all last season, and they only gave up 191 goals. The question will be if they can keep the puck out of the net and if they can stay healthy, because that was what cost them last year for a stretch. They were first for a very long time in that Central Division last year, but because of injuries, they lost Rantanen, they lost Landeskog for big stretches of time. As long as they can stay healthy, they're my favorite to win this division.
And I would agree with you. Another team in the division that I completely expect to succeed and really be strong is Vegas. Goaltending for them is obviously a strong point. I can't think that Marc-Andre Fleury is going to be a distraction. Maybe his agent, Alan Walsh, might be the distraction, but I don't think
Fleury... How long before Fleury ends up in Washington?
Ooh, Nick coming out of... Yeah, I mean, if things get bad there, yes, it's an option to look, especially as we get later in the season and the cap hit is less, but I think Fleury still has a couple years left there. But that's a fair assessment there, Nick. I like what you're doing.
I've been waiting for you to talk about Vegas because I was going to throw that out there and just completely halt your thought.
That is a juicy tidbit that you've thrown into the explosive pool there. Well done, Nick.
Juicy tidbit. That's my job.
That's something to look forward to. They've added Pietrangelo on the back end and have barely subtracted anything. Paul Stastny heads to Winnipeg. which he had a down year anyway, so who knows where he's headed. Their forward group, they don't have that elite scorer. Mark Stone, Max Pacioretty are their top guys, and we don't know what's going to happen with Pacioretty. That's kind of...
He's not going anywhere. I'm so tired of this narrative. He's not going anywhere.
They have a balanced forward group. I mean, if something's coming back to add to that group, yeah, he goes somewhere. But he's part of the group. They need everyone firing to be successful offensively, and I think they will be. I just think they're a really well-rounded team that I do expect them to do quite well in this division.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think there's any doubt about that. And I think losing all they lost this year was leadership. In the grand scheme from last year, they lost England, who was a leader in that room. They lost Stastny, who the veteran presence, a leader in that room. That's what you lose. You bring in Pietrangelo to kind of offset that, and he's probably a better defenseman than England right now. I think he's one of the best defensemen in the league, so there's no real doubt about that. Yeah, they're solid all the way up and down. The other team in the division that I think will have no problem is St. Louis. I really don't see an issue there. Binnington struggled in the playoffs. Yeah, it kind of sucks, but he was fine in the regular season because they, won the Central Division last year. And he was fine in the playoff run the year before when they won the Cup. Overall, the team's still good. They lost Pietrangelo. They get Torrey Krug. It's a little bit of a downgrade, but it's not like you're going to be noticing it that much. It's not like you're going from Pietrangelo to you or me. Like it's Pietrangelo to another like top 10, top 15 defenseman in the league, right? Like it's not a big drop off. So I think they'll be fine too.
I like St. Louis to make the playoffs. I'm not sold on them, and I'm not sold on Binnington returning to where he was. Just hearing some people talk about Binnington, solid goaltender, not exceptional, possibly, catching lightning in a bottle there a little bit. I'm saying he's still good. I don't know if he's elite. He had an elite season, but then the wheels fell off in the playoffs this past.
Yeah, but don't forget that was a very odd playoff situation, right? We have to take that into account.
Yeah, it was. So which adds a ton of intrigue to this season coming up. So I think St. Louis will make the playoffs. I don't think they're competing for top spot personally. I think this is a Vegas Colorado battle, and considering that they're going to play each other 9 times this year, that's going to be fantastic. Plus the groupings, the schedule where they've got, you go to a town, you
back
play
to back,
you play the team 2 or 3 times. I really love the dynamic of this year's schedule. That's really going to add to the battles. And these teams are absolutely going to hate each other before we even get to the playoffs.
Absolutely. That's the goal, right?
Yeah.
That's what the NHL was going for.
The goal was to keep everybody safe. And then the byproduct of that is that you're going to really develop rivals. You're going to have rivalries between Anaheim and Minnesota because they've played each other 9 times in the season. And they hate each other, but both teams might miss the playoffs. So let's look at the teams that we expect to fail here. And I have Minnesota on my list. They're just in a state of transition here. They've gone from Devin Dubnyk on a down year to Cam Talbot, who at this point is you can't count
on a permanent down year.
You can't count on Cam Talbot to get back to where he was before. So they essentially had Zach Parise out the door back in March at the trade deadline for Andrew Ladd, who probably wasn't going to play, and that fell through for whatever reason. So do they really want Zach Parise still there? Eric Stahl's out the door. I mean, this is a team in transition that wants to rebuild, but really hasn't gotten into the thick of that process yet. I think this is the season where they finish low and start drafting well.
Yeah, I think I'll have to agree with you on Minnesota not doing well. I don't know if they'll be at the bottom of this division, but they're not making the playoffs, in my opinion. The big thing for me is the Dubnyk for Talbot transition. And that, I know Dubnyk had a down year, but he's had 1 down year in the past 5. I trust him over Cam Talbot, who has had 4 down years out of the past 5. It's not even comparable to me. I don't know who's going to score for that Minnesota team either. They didn't have a whole lot of scoring to begin with.
Yeah.
And now I don't think they have even less because they lost their 2 top centers. Like, they're talking about Rossi, their top pick, being this first line center possibly.
Yikes.
Right? That's where you know something's not right, is when the number 9 overall pick is being talked about as a possible top line center in their first year. That doesn't happen.
You don't want
unless you're a last place team, but they're not even a last place team.
Yeah, you don't want to throw the young guy into that. That's not a good thing, to throw the young guy into that position on a losing team. That is not, in my opinion, a recipe for growth.
The other people that are being talked about for that spot are Bukestad, Eriksson Ek. Like, none of them are top line center guys. They're second or third line guys, but none of them are top line guys. So I just don't see a whole lot of scoring from this Minnesota team. If the defense can hold up, they're going to win some games just because they're not going to allow any goals, but it's not going to be pretty.
They still have to play Arizona, San Jose, LA, Anaheim, and there's some wins there to be had. They are going to have a tough time against Colorado, Vegas, St. Louis. So I don't know what's going to come out of California, to be honest. I think Anaheim and San Jose have good goaltending behind Gibson and now Dubnyk. We'll see about San Jose. So, I mean, I'll get to San Jose. They're coming up on my chart here. Do you have anybody else who you do expect to fail in this division?
Who I expect to fail? I expect Los Angeles to not do well, but I don't know if that's necessarily a fail in their plan. Yeah. They're in the middle of a transition, and until they can get all the guys that they want in, like Byfield and all these young guys, to set up the next generation of years for Los Angeles. By the way, also need a goaltender to take over for Quick at some point. Like, Quick is there. Quick's fine. He'll start, but
Cal Peterson's supposed to be that guy. We'll see.
Right. They just need to make sure that he's that guy. And it's kind of hard when Quick is still playing well, because you don't want to take Quick out, because that sets a bad precedent for the team, for the organization. So it's kind of a weird transition year. I think it'll be another weird transition year this year. I think by next year, we can actually talk about Los Angeles getting better, not necessarily fighting for a playoff spot, but getting better and maybe fighting for that last wild card spot sort of thing. But
they still have Drew Doughty, and I would expect Byfield to be there, not in a top. I would hope not in a top line role.
Well, he's not even in a top line role for the World Juniors.
Yeah, so there you go. But
he's third line for Canada at the World Juniors.
And let's hope so. Put him in the same position on LA, right? Like, tell him to do what you did at the World Juniors, and maybe put a few in. And like you said, I don't expect LA to make the playoffs, but as long as they move up, it's not necessarily a failure. It's a failure to make the playoffs. It's not necessarily a failure in their plan. So
exactly, that's what I said. Like, I don't know if it's necessarily a bad year, but it's not going to be good for them.
Let's look at our surprise team. I hinted at San Jose. They're my surprise team. I just can't. I know Martin Jones has had 2 bad years in a row, so you'd have to say maybe he's on a downswing. And they've also gotten Devin Dubnyk on a down year. But I still have a little bit of belief that Martin Jones can turn it around. He was very good before this 2-season downswing. And I still feel like he's young enough to bring it back. Plus, they have Burns and Carlson on defense. I know they got Marlowe. He's not a huge scorer. Couture is a fantastic player. I just feel they have some pieces here to not be nearly as bad as they were last year. And I don't know how much we're going to see what this 9 months off to these non-playoff teams did, if it had any effect on them, good or bad. But I think San Jose maybe not necessarily make the playoffs, but can surprise some teams and win a few games that they're not counted on to win this year.
Yeah, I think they'll finish ahead of Minnesota and Los Angeles, in my opinion, and fight with Anaheim for that like 5th spot. Honestly, my team that's going to finish 4th is Arizona. I think they are headed in the right direction. I think they take another step forward. I don't think they're good enough to compete for the top 3. Like, I don't think any of the other teams are good enough to compete for that top 3.
No.
But I think Arizona is the best of the rest, with San Jose and Anaheim behind them. Minnesota and Los Angeles are the bottom two for me, and I think that's just a fair statement to make. But the biggest question mark in Arizona is who's going to score, because they didn't have any scoring last year. They only had 195 goals for. That's not enough if you want to be a true playoff team. All the four teams ahead of them in this new Western division were in St. Louis, Colorado, Vegas, and Minnesota, all had 220 plus goals. So 25 more goals than Arizona. And Minnesota played a game less. So that says a lot right there.
They're going to try and rely on their defensive system again.
Right, and their defensive system is good. They gave up less goals in Colorado.
Yep.
They gave up the fewest goals in this division, and that's fine. But you also need to score. You have to score goals, especially in games that are close. You have to make sure you're scoring goals, not just blowing out the bad teams like what was San Jose, Los Angeles last year.
So you got to wonder why a team like Arizona, I don't know what their cap situation is. Why wasn't there more of a move to bring in Hoffman there? Go back to what we talked about, right? Like, you could use some goal scoring in Arizona, but there was something, and maybe it was just the money. There was word that Hoffman wasn't willing to wait for any teams who wanted to wait before they signed him. So maybe it was that kind of situation there in Arizona. It just seems like a fit there, but we'll see. Quickly to touch on Anaheim here, because I haven't touched on them yet, and then we'll get to our predictions. I don't like where Anaheim's headed. I can't really think of any additions that they've made. I didn't like the comments that Bob Murray made about Dallas Eakins at the end of the season. Bob Murray thought he should have been more involved with coaching Dallas Eakins in coaching the team. I didn't like to hear that. I guess the general manager is entitled to do that, but he's
entitled to his opinion.
Yeah, it just sounds like Bob Murray wasn't happy with the job that Dallas Eakins did. And we'll be more closely monitoring him. Obviously, it was a failure of a season, but it just seems like the writing's on the wall there, and they haven't made any improvements to get better. So I don't think they're a horrendous team, but I don't think they compete for a playoff spot here.
No, I think you nailed it on the head. They're just not really there, right? Like they need to make that next step. They have some really good pieces.
Gibson's fantastic.
Gibson is fantastic.
I love Fowler too.
Yeah, they have some great pieces, but they're just not ready for that next step, which is weird to say of a team that had some great leadership for the longest time. They're just not ready for that next step.
And I don't know if Dallas Eakins is a NHL coach. He did well in the
I think he is, but he got kind of thrown into the fire last year with Anaheim.
Yeah, but they expected improvement, and it didn't happen. And so
but I'm saying he got thrown into the fire because they had tons of injuries last year. They were dealing with sort of a change in leadership at all levels, including the players themselves. It was kind of a rough year to take over as a coach, and they just said, good luck.
I'll make a prediction. I don't think he's coaching the Anaheim Ducks for the 21-22 season. So we'll see. We'll see where that goes. Let's get to our predictions here. We'll start with the non-playoff teams. I have Minnesota tanking in the division. Last place for me. LA just above them. Anaheim just above them. And then I put San Jose missing out, maybe just barely. We'll see how their season goes. But San Jose being that fifth place team. Who are your non-playoff teams, Nick?
Yeah, I could switch your 5 and 6. I could possibly switch, but I think you got that right. And I could see the last two switching as well, 7 and 8, and having LA at the bottom, just because, as I said, they're in the transition year. I think you're right. Quick will probably win them more games than Minnesota wins, because I honestly don't know who's going to man that crease in Minnesota. Not a clue, nor do I really care.
Who are they working with? Talbot, and I don't even know who the backup was. It's not Stalock.
Nope, not a clue. Don't care.
Don't know who's working the backup.
They used to beat up on Colorado in the playoffs. Good riddance. Bye-bye.
Okay, so let's talk about our playoff teams. I've talked about this before. Arizona, to me, is just such a vanilla, beige, nondescript team, and I never give them any credit. But someone's got to fill that fourth place spot. So Arizona Coyotes, there you go. You make the playoffs. I have St. Louis finishing third, and then kind of your top two-tier teams, Vegas and Colorado, and I really think they could battle it out for the division. But we got the Colorado Love Fest going here. So I have Colorado winning the division. Vegas 2, St. Louis 3, Arizona 4.
Yeah, I have Colorado 1, St. Louis 2, Vegas 3, but like all of those teams are going to be within 5 points in my head. It's going to be super close. And then about 10 points behind them will be Arizona. And then about 5 points behind them will be my non-playoff teams.
And it'll be great if Colorado wins the division to watch them just cream Arizona. Just smoke them right out of the playoffs. 4 straight.
Well, that'll actually be I will say that will be a fun matchup just because Arizona is quick and Colorado's quick. So it'll be a lot of fast hockey, which is something that we don't see a whole lot of in the playoffs anymore, especially because like when you think of teams like Vegas and you think of teams like St. Louis, they're big body teams. Or when you think of like the Islanders, who are just a defensive stalwart, they're not a fast team, but they'll slow you down in the playoffs. To have 2 fast teams, that's going to be fun.
All right, so that is our look at the West Division for the 2021 NHL season. We will be right back with the randomizer. We are back on 20 Minutes on Ice. Ryan, Nick, here with you. We just did our West Division predictions. And now it's time to fire up the randomizer. Oh, this is nice, Nick. We've landed on a new game here. A new game added to the randomizer. The name game, it's called. So this is like... this reference might be a little old for you. 5 degrees of separation, the Kevin Bacon thing.
Is it 6 degrees of separation?
Whatever it is. You name 5 people and eventually you could get back to Kevin Bacon, just relating them by film. Anyways, we're going to do the same method here, but with players. Okay. So I'll name a current player. I got a guy on my mind. I'll name a current player. You just have to quickly name someone who's associated with that player. It can be any kind of association. Same number, same team. They grew up, they're from the same town. The first person who...
I'll get that.
The first person who stumbles loses the game. Okay?
Oh, God, I'm going to lose this game every time.
So it has to be a significant stumble. Nick, I've got someone here who's from your era, so don't worry about that. But if you're ready to go, we should set a limit on it, maybe 2-3 minutes. We'll see how this goes. This is our first time playing the name game, so we'll see how this goes. But I'll name a player. You're going to have to come up with an association, and then whoever you come up with, I have to come up with an association. And let's make sure we state our association, too, and not just throw a name out there. Are you ready for this?
I guess so.
This is an experiment. We'll see how
this is going to go poorly on my end.
We'll see how the name game goes. You get all the time in the world to think of a response to the first one.
Okay.
And then we go from
Set
there.
myself up for the rest of them, basically.
So the player we're leading off with, PK Subban.
PK Subban.
You can come up with anybody that has an association to PK Subban.
All right, we're going to go Mike Camilleri.
Mike
played on
Camilleri.
Montreal with him.
Okay, I will go with I'm going to go with Dion Phaneuf, who played on the Calgary Flames with Camilleri.
Jerome McGinley played with Phaneuf in Calgary.
Joe Nieuwendyk traded from Calgary to Dallas for Jerome McGinley.
Nice. Matt Sundin played with Nieuwendyk in Toronto, didn't he?
Oh, very good, Nick. All right, Wendell Clark traded for Matt Sundin in 93, 94.
Correct.
Wendell Clark.
93, 94. Sakic played with Clark before he was traded.
Very good.
Okay. I believe, didn't he?
Yeah, they played together.
Okay.
Yeah,
Just checking.
Clark played for Quebec, so Sakic was there. I will go with Patrick Waugh, obviously a teammate of Joe Sakic's in Colorado.
I was hoping you would go more like current player since he's the GM. Forsberg played with Patty Waugh in Colorado.
Eric Lindros traded for Peter Forsberg, Quebec and Philly.
Josh Hosang.
Oh, good one.
Same number.
Good one, Nick. Okay. Oh, for Josh Hosang, I will say Matthew Barzal, New York Islanders with Josh Hosang.
Barzell's number 13, right?
He is.
Can I go back with the same guy?
No, you cannot use the same guy. And you've already used Camilleri and Sundin, both number 13.
I know. Let's go Robin Leonard. Played in the Island.
Good one. I will go with Derek England. First, he played in Vegas with Leonard, and he was kind of like the first notable name that Vegas had in the expansion draft.
That's not true. The first notable name in the expansion draft was Marc-Andre Fleury.
I'm not saying he was a good player. He just played in Vegas in the East.
But Fleury was like the first guy picked.
All right, whatever, Nick. Derek England.
I know. I'm going with Marc-Andre Fleury.
Yeah,
relax.
They played together in Pittsburgh too. You go with Fleury. So, did you go with Fleury?
I went with Fleury. That's what I'm saying.
Nick, I'm not even listening to you. So really,
I know it's rude.
Marc-Andre Fleury. I will go with Rick DiPietro, another goalie drafted first overall. As
Ricky D.
Yeah.
Garth Snow.
Ooh, good one, Nick. Garth.
Do I have to say the reasoning?
Well, wasn't he backup? Snow backed up DiPietro, did he not?
Yes.
Because it was, I want to say it was.
Or wasn't he the GM?
Wasn't it Milbury who signed that deal?
Milbury's, I know, but wasn't he the GM after? Whatever. Either way, he played with or was the GM of DiPietro.
Okay, Brian Boucher. I believe he was goaltending tandem with Snow in Philadelphia.
I might be out.
3, 2, 1.
Yeah, I'm done. I got nothing.
That was a good round. I like that game. That went well. I got you on Brian Boucher. I would have gone, if I were you, with Alex Ovechkin. In his rookie year, he scored that goal where he came down the right side, cut through the middle, got tripped, ended up, going above his head to score the goal. That was on. No.
I don't even know who he is, Boucher, so I would have never figured that one out.
He's also between the benches for NBC.
I know, but I don't know him like as a player, so I have to connect it to some player, right?
Well, no, not necessarily. You could have gone Pierre Maguire, who also works for NBC. And then I would have probably been something like, I probably would have gone Kevin Dineen because he played on Hartford, and I think Maguire was with him.
All right, whatever.
I don't know. I like name game. Maybe you didn't like name game.
I'm always going to lose. I like it, but I'm always going to lose.
All right, 20 made up points for me, so that's good. I won name game. That was the randomizer. There we go. That was the horn. That brings an end to this 20 Minutes on Ice. Be sure to subscribe to the show. Give us a like. We're on YouTube now. Leave us a rating. Share the pod with your friends. Follow me on Twitter at Ryan_H16. Follow Nick at Nick McVicker. And follow the show at 20 Minutes on Ice. Be sure to head on over to GarageDoorSports.com and find us under the shows tab. We'll be back next week previewing what did they call it? The Central Division. I was going to call it the South Division.
Yeah, you confused me this week when you said South.
Not the South. It's the Central. And we will be back. Actually, not next week. Look for a bonus episode coming up around Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday area with the Central, not the South preview. Thank you for listening. Goodbye, everybody.